Tonight, new evidence that the H1N1 flu is especially dangerous for young people has some parents desperate for the vaccine, while others say, not for my family.
I don't think there's a real epidemic.
I'm Russ Mitchell. Also tonight,
what do we want? Equal rights!
Thousands of gay and lesbian protesters march in Washington against Don't Ask, Don't Tell and for gay marriage. In the Rockies, an October weather surprise. Freezing temperatures, freezing rain, and snow. And after decades of helping out in kitchens and on wedding days, why some glossy magazines are disappearing from American life.
This is the CBS Evening News with Russ Mitchell.
And good evening. We begin tonight with concerns over the H1N1 flu vaccine. While millions of doses are being distributed, spot shortages of the vaccine are being reported, and Americans remain divided over whether to get it. In a new CBS News poll, more than half say they are unlikely to be vaccinated, but almost 60% of parents say they're likely to have their children vaccinated. Randall Pinkston has more on the concerns and the shortages.
In Bakersfield, California, they began lining up at daybreak this weekend for the H1N1 vaccine. But the supplies at this clinic ran out before everyone could get vaccinated. A situation likely to be repeated across the nation as the first supplies of H1N1 vaccine become available. The Centers for Disease Control said 6.8 million doses of vaccine are ready, but states so far have only placed orders for 3.7 million. Public officials promise there will be enough for everyone, but it will take time.
When will H1N1 vaccines be available here?
Very soon. I don't have an exact date, but certainly within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Suzanne Pugh is the nurse in charge of a New York City hospital's emergency services unit. Last spring, her hospital was swamped with patients after an outbreak of H1N1 flu at a nearby parochial school. Pugh says the experience helped her hospital prepare for the flu season.
A lot of it was patient education. And telling people or reassuring them that they could treat themselves at home adequately with fever control and fluid and rest.
Doctors say that treatment works for most cases of any kind of flu, but the H1N1 strain can also be fatal, especially among children. So far this year, 76 children and teenagers have died from the H1N1 virus. Just last week, federal health officials reported 19 new deaths in 10 states, 7 of those in Texas. The possibility that the H1N1 virus can kill is prompting some parents to get their children vaccinated.
I have a brother-in-law who's a doctor, and I'm going to do whatever he says, but I think it'll be good.
But the rush to get the vaccine to the public has unnerved other parents.
The amount of testing that's been done to this point and what side effects could occur in 6 months or a year later.
Public health officials insist the H1N1 vaccine is as safe as any other flu vaccine because the manufacturing process is the same. Russ?
Randall Pinkston, thank you very much. Turning to a hot-button political issue, activists from across the country took to the streets of Washington today. It was called the National Equality March, but its focus was on gay rights. Kimberly Dozier reports.
Thousands of gay rights protesters marched from the White House to the Capitol today to keep the pressure on the commander-in-chief.
Obama, marry Mama.
The president does not support gay marriage, but he did promise again last night to end discrimination against gays in the workplace.
I love you back.
That includes supporting a hate crimes bill that's now working its way through Congress and a promise to lift the ban on gays serving openly in the military.
I will end Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That's my commitment to you.
But he gave no timetable, and White House advisors say this issue really must be addressed by Congress too, since Congress passed the original law. The demonstrators we spoke to today say it's another example of campaign-style promises without follow-through.
I'll give him a C right now, but I'm hopeful that something will come about soon.
Words don't mean anything to us anymore. He's got to follow them up with action.
They're marching together now, but there's a divide in this community as to whether they should fight these issues in Washington or state by state. Activists have successfully lobbied for gay marriage in 6 states.
I give you this ring. I give you this ring.
Many in the gay community say that's where this energy should be focused because they've seen almost no success at the national level.
Yes, we can!
But this march was organized by those who want the gay community to push for federal change across the board.
When we focus on these specific issues, we're treating ourselves like we are second-class citizens. And I think that it's important that we stand up and we stop demanding fractions of equality.
State by state, not so good for you.
Not so much, because it limits where we can go, and Americans should be able to live wherever they want. The land of the free.
For now, the president has made issues like health care reform and the Afghan war more pressing priorities. Kimberly Dozier, CBS News, Washington.
And while thousands gathered to march for gay rights, the first family listened to a sermon on how Christianity has consequences. After this morning's service at St. John's Church, the Obamas walked across the street to the White House on a crisp fall day in Washington. And to help us put the president's eventful week in focus, we are joined from Washington by CBS News political analyst John Dickerson. John, good evening to you.
Hello, Russ.
Let's begin with the president's pledge to end the don't ask, don't tell policy for gays in the military. It was a campaign promise he made. How important is it in your mind that he followed through with that?
Well, it's important to this constituency. They raise a lot of money for Democrats. They raised money for the president. But what we noticed and what people in the hall last night mentioned is the fact that the president really didn't say anything new. He reiterated his commitment, but is he going to spend any political capital, getting Congress to move more quickly, getting to the Pentagon to move more quickly? He didn't make those commitments, and with so much on his plate, it doesn't look like he's going to move forward spending that political capital.
Of course, the president won the Nobel Peace Prize this week, something that shocked a lot of people, including the White House, I believe. Already some folks are having a little fun with that. We've got a clip now from Saturday Night Live. Let's take a look.
In a surprise decision, President Obama won the 2009 Nobel Peace Prize Friday. In other premature awards this week, high school football player Billy Reynolds has been named this year's Heisman Trophy winner. Fifth grader Amber Collins has been named Miss America, and 9-year-old Dylan Holt has been named People's Sexiest Man Alive.
Okay, John, in the long run, is winning the Nobel Peace Prize 9 months into your presidency a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, the knock against the president is the one Saturday Night Live highlighted, which is that he doesn't really deserve it, and he embraced that. And so that probably helped the president. Voters like it when presidents are occasionally self-deprecating. And he's pivoted here. He's turned the prize into a celebration of America's volunteer spirit. He sent an email out to his millions of political supporters thanking them for their volunteer spirit. And he'll sound that note again later this week in Texas with 41st President George Herbert Walker Bush, who's having an event to celebrate the volunteer spirit. So he's trying to turn it around for himself.
A lot of stuff going on. John Dickerson in Washington. As always, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Russ.
Coming up on tonight's CBS Evening News, it's October in the Rockies. It just feels like winter. 3 weeks into fall, and it looks like winter in the nation's heartland. The Rocky Mountains and Plain States are seeing record low temperatures and, in some places, record snow. Rick Salinger of CBS station KCNC in Denver has the latest.
Icy roads made for treacherous travel in Colorado. This weekend feels more like January than October.
The truck lost control all of a sudden.
50 cars piled up near Colorado Springs. And more snow is forecast from the Rocky Mountains to the northern plains tonight and tomorrow.
We're seeing at any one time 30 accidents.
17-degree temperatures put baseball's postseason on ice in Denver Saturday. Play resumes tonight with Denver lows expected in the 20s. Snow stretched east to Minnesota and Wisconsin, surprising even those used to long winters.
I really wish it had waited until at least November.
17 inches of snow fell in North Platte, Nebraska, breaking the record for October snowfall. There were smiles in Colorado because the ski season began early.
It is not just the early cold snap that has everyone wondering what's next. The West Coast is bracing for wet weather this week.
A major Pacific storm is expected to soak California for the first time since last winter. It could trigger coastal flooding and snow in the mountains. Meanwhile, wind damage left a trail of destruction from Texas to New England. Tornadoes touched down in Tennessee and Kentucky, all part of October's wild ride. Rick Salinger for CBS News, Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
Overseas, a climate change protest in London. Dozens of Greenpeace activists used ladders and ropes to reach the roof of Parliament. The protesters are demanding more investment in renewable energy and steep cuts in carbon emissions. In Kazakhstan today, you could say the clown has landed. Aboard the otherwise important scientific space flight from the International Space Station was the red-nosed billionaire founder of the Cirque du Soleil Circus, who paid $35 million for the trip. The Soyuz spaceship returned to Earth after its 10-day journey. Next on tonight's CBS Evening News, where guns are for sale, no questions asked. Across the country this weekend, dozens of gun shows are welcoming buyers. In the past, 30% of gun trafficking investigations have been linked to these shows. This according to the ATF. Now, a new investigation by New York City shows how easy it is for private dealers to skirt the law. Hari Srinivasan has more.
No background check.
No tax, no charges, nothing, just $500 and it's yours.
You're watching the target of a New York City undercover investigation at a Nevada gun show. While licensed firearms dealers are required to run background checks to prevent criminals from buying guns, private sellers are not. Since many private sales happen at gun shows, critics call it the gun show loophole. But even private sellers may not sell to someone they believe would fail a background check.
So no background check, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, good, because I probably couldn't pass one.
Over 4 months, investigators with hidden cameras went to 7 gun shows in Nevada, Tennessee, and Ohio.
So you don't care about the background checks, right?
Nope.
All right.
Because I wouldn't pass either, bud.
Even after the undercover buyer said he would not pass a background check, 19 of 30, or 63% of the private sellers, were still ready to make a deal.
Criminals and traffickers are using the private sellers to buy guns anonymously and easily.
The National Association of Firearms Retailers did not respond to our request for comment. The National Rifle Association said in a written statement its position is straightforward. Those who break the law should be arrested, prosecuted, and punished. In fact, 1 out of 3 private sellers approached in the investigation did obey the law.
If you're basically telling me that you wouldn't pass a background check, then I wouldn't be allowed to.
The amendment is agreed to.
Congress almost closed the gun show loophole in 1999, a month after 2 Columbine high school students in Colorado killed 12 classmates and a teacher and wounded 23 others with guns bought from private sellers at gun shows.
But I think we've got a reasonable chance to make the case.
New Jersey Senator Frank Lautenberg drafted the legislation 10 years ago and is still trying to stop unregistered private gun sales.
You stop it by demanding people have registered guns, whatever source that they get them from, and that there is some record that says this person owns a gun.
But even Lautenberg knows that closing the gun show loophole this year is a long shot. Hari Srinivasan, CBS News, New York.
At the Vatican, Pope Benedict created 5 new saints today, including the 19th century Belgian priest, Father Damien. Father Damien was canonized for his work with leprosy patients in Hawaii. He died himself of leprosy in 1889. Ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, how does our healthcare system stack up against other nations? We'll find out what an American who's traveled the world thinks about it. A major hurdle for healthcare reform is scheduled for Tuesday when the Senate Finance Committee is set to vote on its bill. Author T.R. Reid has written a new book comparing our healthcare system with other nations. For our series, Prescriptions for Change, I asked Reid how health officials in other countries react when he describes our system.
They all feel smugly superior to us.
Really?
Everybody around the world, every health minister knows that we let people die for lack of a doctor. They all know that we let people go bankrupt by the hundreds of thousands. They love sneering at us. And you know, Russ, how here the bad word is socialized medicine. We don't want to do socialized medicine. In every other democracy, the bad word is American-style medicine.
Interesting. You have this chronic shoulder injury that you got during your time in the Navy.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
You go to 10 countries, you get all these different opinions. In France, they tell you physical therapy.
Yeah.
In the U.S., they say surgery.
Yeah.
Does that say, what does that say about what's going on?
Yeah, well, America is a very high-tech, advanced, aggressive kind of medicine, and that's pretty expensive. Some other countries would have done the same operation for me. It would have cost about $47,000 in America, $5,000 in France for the same procedure, about $7,000 in Japan. But most of them said, no, we don't think that's indicated. And of course, in Canada, I never even got to the doctor. It would have taken me 10 months to get to an orthopedic surgeon in Canada, so I never even got the consultation.
The word greedy has been used when it pertains to many insurance companies in this country. What do you think about that word?
I'd use the word inefficient, sloppy. The American health insurance companies have administrative costs about 20% or more. They add 20% to every bill they pay. Now, Russ, you think of France as a model of management efficiency? French insurance companies have administrative costs of 4%. Germany, 5%. Japan, 3,000 insurance companies, 5.5%. They're 1/4 as wasteful as our companies. Our insurance companies pay the bosses $20 million, but they're the least efficient payers in the world.
What do you think American companies, the American healthcare system in general, can learn from what we're seeing around the world?
Well, in the first place, it doesn't have to be big government. It doesn't have to be single payer. Japan has 3,000 payers. But the main thing to learn that I found in all the other countries is the first decision has to be this moral commitment. Doggone it, we want everybody in our country who's sick to have access to a doctor. Once you decide on that, then you can get a mechanism to do it. As I say, we keep losing the goal in our argument about how much hospital corporations are going to make next month. You got to focus on the goal. That's what the other countries did.
Maybe an unfair question, but as you look at the countries that you examine, was there one in particular that you said, okay, this is the way it should be done?
Our American family lived in Britain. In Britain, your kid has an earache, you call the doctor, she comes to your house, she gives your kid a shot of penicillin, and then guess what, Russ? She walks out the door. No bill, no copay, no deductible, no insurance premium, no nothing, because it's the government's job to provide health care. For me, that really worked. Now, maybe that's too big government for Americans. But the Japanese system, they cover everybody. They have much better health statistics than we do. And they spend half as much as we do per capita on health care with private docs, private hospitals, and private insurance. That would be a good model for us.
And coming up this Sunday, American magazines are having issues. In some cases, their last issues. Well, maybe it's good news for trees. First, newspapers started closing. Now comes the death of some magazines. Where are they headed? Michelle Miller reports it may be to your computer.
The sudden closure of Gourmet, a high-end staple of foodie culture for 68 years, accents a sour time for the magazine industry.
People are desperately searching for a new business model, a profitable business model.
For some 200 major weeklies and monthlies, advertising pages are down 27% this year, while the industry's advertising revenue is on pace to be $5 billion less than last year.
It's not just a magazine that died. We were like partners in a dream.
Danielle Smith was at the helm of Vibe when the 16-year-old urban music magazine shut down this summer. It was one of at least 51 consumer magazines to fold this year, although a number of them, like Vibe and rock music guide Blender, relaunched on the internet. Vibe is now planning a comeback as a printed quarterly.
The economy has put advertisers in the position where it's difficult for them to buy space in the magazine and at sites.
Michael Clinton of Hearst Magazines, which publishes Cosmopolitan and Oprah's magazine, is pursuing a new strategy for his company's 15 titles, using the internet to lure more subscribers.
We're online, but we're doing different things online.
Like on the website of Esquire, there's video of the November cover shoot with actress Kate Beckinsale. 1.5 million people clicked on to see a similar video featuring actress Megan Fox in June. But if they wanted to see the interviews, they'd have to turn to the printed edition.
Consumers and readers tell us all the time, give me my favorite magazine. I want to hold it. I want to carry it. It's portable. I control it.
With perhaps 90% of magazine revenue coming from ads, industry experts say a big challenge is figuring out how to make more money from their websites, which generally post content for free.
Internet users don't want to pay for online content, and online advertisers don't want to pay much money for online advertising. And it's just a killer combination.
So the industry is counting on readers who still say,
I don't want to sit behind the computer, I just want to have it in a printed form.
And who love the look and feel of a traditional magazine in a changing world. Michelle Miller, CBS News, New York.
And that's the CBS Evening News. I'm Russ Mitchell in New York. Good night.